The latest news. The 12 p.m. news is proudly brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands. World-class healthcare within your reach.
The Business Buzz is proudly sponsored by Cayman Insurance Center, specializing in property, life, and other lines of insurance products and services. And Kirk Market. Experience a world of choice.
And 100% Math. Invest in your child's academic success. Visit 100%math.com or call 547-9817.
And now, Radio Cayman presents The Business Buzz, an insightful and fresh take on a variety of issues that impact the local business environment. This is where we address the business topics that matter. Radio Cayman's Business Buzz. Here's your host, Kathy Miller.
Good morning, Cayman. I'm your host, Kathy Miller, for the Business Buzz this morning, and I'm excited to have with us in the studio from Hazard Management. We have Danny Coleman, Director, and we have Simon Boxall, Communications, Public Awareness, and Training Officer. And this is very timely because it was last Thursday, July 4th, the day that we were being hit by Hurricane Beryl, that I was supposed to have Hazard Management in to discuss this particular topic. And I want to say the timing couldn't be better in a sense because luckily we weren't devastated by Hurricane Beryl.
I know.
But we are here to talk about business continuity management. Yes,
good morning, Kathy. Good morning, listeners. Great to be back here, and great to be back here talking about business continuity and not about a long response ahead of us or long recovery, because obviously Beryl passed us last week, and we are relatively unscathed. A few properties obviously have been damaged, and some damage assessments still underway. But I think, again, we really lucked out last week. But again, not to be complacent for the next time it happens, because I think, you're hearing a lot of stories. Oh, well, that was a cat video. No, hold on a second. This was a very, very close miss. And I think we were incredibly lucky to come out the way we did.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. There was way too many people that I was hearing almost 2 days out saying, well, it's turning just a little bit, so we're not going to get hit. Don't worry about it. And I'm like, no. Just as quickly as it turned a little bit is just as fast as it could turn back, right? So
yeah, no, we were keeping up throughout the whole night, obviously, with our very good friends from the Cayman Islands National Weather Service. And I know every time another forecast came out, we're like, okay, what is it going to be? Is it dipped? Has it dipped? That kind of thing. So unless you have a crystal ball and know something that we don't know, it's very, very unpredictable. And again, you just have to be such a dynamic situation. We have to be constantly checking to make sure we are, where we are and know what the facts are. But again, really happy to see the result from last week. It could have been so much of a different situation. And yes, I think everyone's a bit shaken, not stirred. But, at the same time, it's like we are here. We've, bounced back very, very quickly. I think literally when I drove home that day, admittedly we'd been in the NEAC for a good few days, but drove home on the Thursday afternoon. It again, having had all the NRA and the PWD teams out, and a lot of these sort of private partners helping with the clear up. It's incredible how quickly Cayman can bounce back with clearing up the roads, clearing up the sidewalks and so forth. And again, I think by Friday or Saturday it looked almost back to normal. So really, really, really good show last week of Cayman's resilience, really.
And for yourself, for your organization, because you guys really are at the forefront of this, making sure that, yes, things are getting done. You're leading us, really. You're our main leaders when it comes down to going through a hurricane or a storm or a disaster. We're looking at hazard management and the NELC as well.
Yeah, it's a massive partnership. We have some incredible partners during any activation. Our teams from Cayman Islands National Weather Service, from Department of Communications, and of course, as you say, the whole structure. So the structure consists of the National Emergency Operations Centre, the Strategic Coordination Group, and then the executive, which is co-chaired by the Governor and the Premier, and consists of ministers and Commissioner of Police, myself and a few others. And again, the actual National Hazard Management Mechanism is an incredibly robust, versatile mechanism. So you don't have to obviously activate the entire thing. Last week we did, and again, because we've done a lot of work recently on the sort of instrument commands restructuring, it was a great demonstration of how it can work, the information going up and down, back and forward, and again, making sure that decisions are made at each level are the decisions that should be made at that level. Strategic should always be made at strategic levels. Tactical, operational should be made at the operational level. So it was just, it gave us a bit of space to make, have that foresight. And again, I don't think we had to use the entire recovery mechanism because we didn't need it. But again, we were ready to do so if we did. So a really good sort of test run in case anything else happens for us this season.
And I hope it doesn't at all, because
we really hope it doesn't.
What that did to my mind, the mind game that it did to me, was absolutely insane. And, going from I don't know if I'm going to see my home again to, okay, everything's okay in a matter of 12 hours. That was the amount of time preparing and just not knowing, and then waiting for this inevitable doom to kind of hit you. And thankfully it didn't. I can't imagine what it was like to have gone through Ivan. After just last week's experience, I'm 1/1000th in feeling of what people went through Ivan, and I don't want to know anymore.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point there. And again, some people sort of play as and become a bit complacent and play it off like it was a non-event. It was a serious event, and last week Beryl was a serious event. And I think again, PTSD from Ivan, a lot of people really were traumatized. I think we were all a bit traumatized because again, it's the waiting game. There's that nervous energy that you create for days and days beforehand. Technology is a brilliant thing. The fact that we can see these storms coming from a long way out, but it also means that your mental health is impacted much earlier than it might be if you didn't have the technology to see the storms coming. And again, the uncertainty throughout the days, 5 days, 6 days leading up, it really does have an impact. So I think, a strong encouragement for everyone to just step back a bit this week and do what you can just to get that breather, that whatever mental health and well-being means to you. It might be a massage, it might be a walk, it might be a family dinner, it might be some time out with a book, whatever that means to you. We really encourage people to do it because I think, again, everyone was really on tenterhooks last week, including ourselves, and I think it's a really good time now to try and get a bit of space just to have that respite before the next issue happens.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. I'm going to say some meditation for some people out there that might not want to do any physical activity as well. The meditation, that mental activity, the calmness that it can bring you, the clarity, I would encourage that as well. So,
go fishing. Simon, I think we'll go fishing next when he's allowed out on the boat.
How are you feeling, Simon? How do you feel about it all from last week?
Yeah, I feel good. I think we had quite a long time to prepare in this particular instance, and we had the benefit of a 3-day weekend. So I think probably it did give people an opportunity to get ready. I think they got a bit of a sense of just how much is involved. So getting ahead of it now, hopefully that's got people in a position where they're mostly kind of ready just in case. And speaking of which, I don't know whether we have time to do it, but we had our National Day of Preparedness activities back in May, Kathy. Good morning, Kim-Ann, by the way. Good morning, Kathy. Sorry.
We have a long intro here.
Yeah, so we've had this really good relationship with a number of hardware stores and over the years, and they've continued to support this thing where they put together a kit of hurricane supplies for people, and then we engage with them. The people that come into the store, we talk to them about their preparedness, how ready they are for maybe waves or storm surge or whatever, not just hurricanes, actually. We look at earthquakes too. And then they get to enter this kit to win the kit. So we have these boxes in front of us here. I don't know whether Paul can show them with a camera, but
they're already on camera.
Are they?
Yep.
I'm wondering whether maybe you and Danny can pull some
wave them around. And so what is this promotion exactly? So
it's just encouraging people to just sort of think about their preparedness. Some really good items. There's coolers, which are always useful when you see a hurricane coming. I encourage people to get together a box of ice, to start. Right. They turn their fridge and freezer down to the lowest setting, and then they just move the things from their fridge and freezer into this cooler. That's what I did in Hurricane Ivan. It really served me well. I noticed there's a big potable water container that came from one of the hardware stores. Lots of different things, big jugs of water, little cookers, different things
so
like
just
that.
Different hurricane supply
Yeah,
items
varied things. Some people got a machete in there. We don't tell them exactly what to choose, but they're all really sensible.
Each box is different.
Things like flashlight in there, extra batteries, garbage bags.
And anybody can just, as long as you shop at that particular store.
Well, as long as you come and engage with us and talk to us, and we get an opportunity to kind of discuss where you're at with your preparedness. It's sometimes that face-to-face interaction is really important. We don't always know when we're putting out this social media whether we're reaching people, But it was actually fairly reassuring this year. We got a sense that people are taking it pretty seriously.
Absolutely. And yes, your social media is the communications. I think we said it last week, but the communications this year have been, for Hurricane Beryl in particular, were excellent. Coming from really Department of Comms,
They're
coming
incredible.
from Hazard Management as well. So
It's
And
a
Radio
massive team.
Cayman.
I'm used to
Radio
I'm-
Cayman.
but
and-
I was able to just share things instead of just making our own. So
and
I
it is
found that
good.
super
Consistent
helpful.
message across the way from government
Mhm.
is so important as well. So I think it's
Absolutely.
massive kudos, especially to DAC, Department of Communications, because
Yeah.
I
put a lot of
enjoyed
work into that.
Dwayne
They really did.
Sterling and Mr. OC kind of going through the night as well when the storm was hitting. I had an opportunity to come and sit in with them for a couple of hours, and I think it's reassuring for people, and that's what happened after Ivan. Our Radio Cayman was really there for the people, and
Yes.
people still recall that to this day. So
Yes.
I agree with you, Anisha Richards, her team, Department of Communications, Aaliyah, who's now with Hazard Management. It was a really united effort, and I think we tried to keep the rhythm and the pace just about right, so people were getting the information they wanted and needed.
Well, do you want to pull the names now since we were just talking about this promotion?
Why not? We're going to
can do
ask you
that.
to do the first one. So just
Okay.
if you obviously entered this, you would have entered it in May when you talked to us at one of the hardware shops. We're going to do Kirk Home Centre first, and Miss Kathy's going to read out the name of the lucky
Right
winner.
down and so that
And
it-
again, we'll call you later on today and ask you to come and get a photograph with us and collect your supplies. And again, it's just a great way to get ahead of yourself this hurricane season with the various items.
All right.
So-
What if like 3 come out?
So
Well, then,
only
yeah.
one. I
Okay.
can massage only one.
There
is
we
coming
Keep your
out.
eyes closed and just
Drum
use
roll.
one.
Kirk Home Center. These are my people here at Kirk Home Center. So the
Yeah, we need a
winner or a winner. Oh, I forgot I can't see anymore.
Glasses?
All of a sudden, I don't know what happened. One day I
It's
could
my
see, the
reader.
next day I couldn't. Thank you.
Yeah,
I have
did you-
contacts on. I think it's a Brooklyn Williams.
Brooklyn, you're a
Yes.
winner.
Brooklyn
What?
Williams, well,
Yes.
one of the winners for Hazard Management's
Kirk
promotion,
Home
and
Center.
this is
Thank you, Kirk Home Center.
something from Kirk Home Center. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be in touch with you, Brooklyn, and we'll call you later on today because we've got your number here.
I'm sure I got that.
And
as well.
we'll stick that to the top there.
So is it's one person per box that we're
Yeah,
pulling?
one
Just
Okay.
the one.
All right. Uncle Bill's. Oh, I get
Uncle
to do
Bill, she
Uncle
gets
Bill's.
another.
Brooklyn
Uncle Bill's,
Williams,
Uncle
yeah.
Bill's.
I get to do Uncle Bill's next.
Very
Uncle
exciting. These
Bill's.
boxes really are brilliant. And again, they've been doing it with us for years, the various hardware shops. And we always really value our partnerships with all of them because, again, it really does help getting people prepared.
You got 2?
There was 2.
There's
in
2.
one, and I
You
didn't
kept
wanna
your eyes closed,
separate it,
so-
so I just threw it back in.
Here we
There's
go.
a few there. Okay.
Who's it going to be?
Yeah, I think it's the same.
Don't worry,
same
that's the same
person.
one,
It's the
but
same
yeah.
number,
they left
so
it.
this is okay. All right, Neville, aren't you happy that I picked another name here? Neville Grange.
Never.
I'm not
Neville
sure.
Grange. We'll be in touch, Neville.
Well, look,
Well
because
done,
we've got your
Neville.
phone
I can't
number.
read apparently
Look at you.
anymore.
Neville
so-
Grange. I
Grange?
think, yeah.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Mrs.
Thank you,
Neville.
Neville. We'll be in
40.
touch today.
Congrats, Neville, on winning a
Danny,
hurricane
you-
prize
why don't
from
you
Uncle
pull one,
Bill's.
Danny?
I'm now pulling one from Ale Thompson. So we've got here. We've got Roy. Oh my goodness, my eyesight. Roy Grant. Roy Grant will be in touch.
What?
You've just won the prize from Ale Thompson.
That's the former general from the fire service, and he was
Awesome.
right in the thick of things in Hurricane Ivan in the NEOC.
Oh,
Well,
there you go. Well
congratulations.
deserving.
Nixon.
Yes.
And Simon will do the cost you less one, and we'll be in touch today
Ray
with.
Grant. Wow. Thanks, ALTs, as well.
Yeah,
All
thank
right.
you, Uncle Bills. Thank you,
Congrats.
Kirks, Ale
Congrats,
Roy.
Thompsons, and cost you less.
No, I'm not going to be able to get one. Okay,
Yeah,
there we
there
go. Okay, this is Cost You Less. Coming
You
at
Less.
you now. Look at you, Ben Stadding. Congratulations,
Well done, Ben.
Wow, you're a winner.
It's all
I think I
male winners
remember
today.
that. I knew you were going to be a winner, Ben. Well
no,
done.
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn,
Well,
yes,
Brooklyn could
Brooklyn,
be a guy
yes.
or girl, so.
Yeah.
Well
Gwyneth
done, winners.
Girl.
We'll be in touch today and we'll be delivering those, or you'll come and pick up those supplies from Hazard Management. And again, thank you to all our partners, Cost You Less, Kirk Home Centre, Uncle Bill's, and A.L. Thompson.
All right. Awesome. Congratulations to all our winners. We got to go to a commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to actually talk about the topic that we had Danny and Simon come in for, which is business continuity management. And we're going to hear from Hazard Management just after the break.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. The Cayman Islands, He hath founded it upon the seas.
In 1904, Cayman Brac turtling captain and boat builder Daniel Jervis built a prototype Caymanian catboat named Terra, an obvious improvement on the previous canoe-style boats of the day. The Caymanian catboat was on average 16 feet long and drew no more than 8 inches of water. Painted in their distinctive catboat blue color, it provided effective camouflage when seen from below, permitting the crew to discreetly approach turtles.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community, a traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way, positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman's Historical Vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
When it comes to weekly meal prep, I trust Kirk Market to provide the best value for quality proteins. The butchers at Kirk Market are super helpful. They always slice my steaks perfectly. Kirk Market has everything I need for healthy and flavorful protein-packed meals. From lean cuts of CAB choice beef, tender CAB prime beef, the juiciest pork, and all-natural hormone-free poultry, to their seafood section with everything from fresh local snapper to omega-3 rich salmon. I choose Kirk Market for the highest quality proteins to support my healthy lifestyle. Kirk Market. Eat well, live well, and discover a world of choice.
I'm Michael Webster.
And I'm Denise Brown of Cayman Insurance Center.
Family is not the most important thing, it's everything.
We have worked with the community and their families on protecting themselves for the future.
Whether it's providing top-rated life insurance
or protecting your family's household investment.
From our family to yours, we understand and we care.
I'm Denise Brown. Call me at 814-7229.
And I'm Michael Webster at 925-5433.
We are Cayman Insurance Center,
specializing in property, life, and other lines of insurance products and services at an affordable rate. We are Michael and
Denise at Cayman Insurance Center.
Call today.
Elevate your child's math skills with 100% math with premier math tutoring services under the expert guidance of our renowned mathematicians, Professor Emeritus Romain Angeloff and Dr. Mackenzie. Programs are designed to secure IB, HL, and SL math, CSEC A-levels, and IGC SE success. Whether your child aims to get ahead or catch up, 100% Math is your partner in achieving their academic goals. Don't let your child's math skills lag. Visit us at 100percentmath.com or call or WhatsApp 547-9817. The Business Buzz with your host, Kathy Miller. Business Buzz.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Business Buzz. I'm your host, Kathy Miller, and in studio from Hazard Management, we have Danny Coleman, Director, and Simon Boxall, Communications, Public Awareness, and Training Officer. We just opened the show talking a little bit about kind of the aftermath, in a sense, of Hurricane Beryl, how we felt about it. We're done with Hurricane Beryl now. We're moving on in our lives, and we're looking at the giveaway that we just did as well. So there's 4 boxes in studio. We just did a giveaway. It was a promotion that Hazard Management had, and they had it with 4 different retail outlets here: Kirk Home Center, Cost You Less, Uncle Bill's, and A.L. Thompson. And so it was during the month of May. If you saw Hazard Management, I guess, at either location, you could enter to win, and it was to win hurricane supplies from each of those 4 retail locations. So we just announced those winners. If you missed it, you can always go back to our show on YouTube once it's done airing, and you can go back and hear who those winners were. Unless Simon remembers from the top of his head, but I'm not going to pressure him like that right now. No,
and Simon will be calling you later today with full of happiness and cheer and advising you when to pick it up.
He will.
And thank you so much to all the hardware stores who very generously sponsored these preparedness kits for us to kind of raise the awareness in the community of importance of getting ahead on your preparedness activities. So
I think it's really important, again, talking about partnerships. I mean, this is obviously one partnership we do every year, but the obviously during last week with Beryl, we were liaising through the Chamber of Commerce, because the Chamber of Commerce is part of our National Emergency Operations Centre for Economic Continuity, Mr. Will Pinot, and again, trying to make sure that the shops were opening so we could get that time for people to get their hardware, to get the sandbags or the plywood or whatever that looked like for them, as well as the supermarkets. So there's an amazing amount of private-public partnership that goes into any emergency response. And again, thank you to them for last week for opening on the Monday, despite originally not being planned, and working with us to make sure that everyone could get prepared.
I like that segue, Danny, because you talked about economic continuity. That
so important.
That folds right into the business continuity.
Well, you're right. We talk about preparedness. Not my first rodeo. I'm only joking. But business continuity is so critical. We spend a lot of time talking about preparedness. So last week you would have heard us harp on and on and on about being ready for the storm. But we've seen in the past. Ivan's a great example of what happens when you're prepared, but you haven't thought about your business, and you haven't put enough energy into making sure your business will continue if by chance we get hit from a very, very significant storm. Now, Beryl wasn't it, obviously, but again, we've got a very busy season ahead, and so making sure your business, everything, be it from insurance to staff call-out numbers to how you contact your suppliers, how you contact your staff if by chance there's no comms on the island. All these kind of things are so important to be thinking about if you're a business owner. I mean, Simon's got some great stats on post-Ivan, what happened, how many businesses closed, and I know he'll share those with you. But it's just like one of those things, like if you don't have a plan for your business, you really, really need to have one. We've done a lot of work at Hazard Management in particular this year. So one of our roles in Hazard Management is to receive all the continuity of operation plans across from all the government and statutory authorities. So every year we review about just over 100 plans to make sure they're fit for purpose. And that, again, covers how does your department and government function in the aftermath? Do you have all the call-out numbers? Do we know where you're going to meet your people, your staff, if by chance, again, there's no communications? Who are the critical people to come in to make sure they can work in the aftermath? Do you need to rescind, leave, for example, or how are you going to pay? How are you going to pay people if there's no banking institutions aren't working? So there's so much that goes into it. And again, one of the things we've morphed towards this year is a software, and it's a great software. We just literally rolled out about 4 or 5 months ago, and we've been doing training with all the government departments over the last 4 or 5 months. And the idea is that each thing talks to each other. I think it's all well and good having plans in government, business continuity plans, but if they don't talk to each other, we can't see who's reliant on the other. And for example, if we need the register of companies open to help private companies like a law firm function with IP addresses overseas, for example, there's a lot of reliance on different agencies, different departments for different things. So this software, what we're using right now in government, is to assist with that, and again, really shows the codependencies on each other to make sure we can all function. So it's exciting, but again, for today's purpose, we're talking more about independent business. You don't expect everyone to get the software, but the business plans themselves are just so important to have in place so you can continue in the aftermath of any large-scale emergency, be it a hurricane or something else.
I'm imagining that it would be way too big of a task for Hazard Management to speak to businesses on how to have a continuity.
We do that, actually. We do work. We're massive believers that the more people prepared in the Cayman Islands, the better and easier our job is in the during and in the aftermath. So we go into schools. I mean, I think in May, for example, we had something like 1,600 people that we saw through the school system, presentation-wise. And service clubs, we'll go into Rotary, Lions, Kiwanis and so forth. Businesses, we go into a lot of private businesses. And again, we're very happy to come and talk to you about business continuity and also assess your specific space that you're in. Because, things from elevation to, if you want a one-story building on the coast, there's serious things you need to think about. I know the archives, we lost a significant amount of the archives in Ivan. We need to make sure, and we're happy, very, very happy to come and help with that process. But you and we need to make sure together that your business can continue afterwards, and that's what we're here for.
When you spoke about partnerships a little bit earlier, is there anybody, and you did mention that the Chamber, for example, as one of your partners.
Yeah.
Is there anybody, an independent organization that could be an MPO, like the Chamber, for example, that could help you in the business continuity management in teaching that to the different businesses? Is there anybody you can offer with that could help support you?
We actually have three trained business continuity managers at Hazard Management.
Okay.
I'm one as well. So it's actually a free service. We're not taking away from the people in the private sector because, there's a whole industry sort of surrounding business continuity. But we don't write people's plans, but sometimes we actually review them. And as Danny said, particularly after we see these earthquakes and things like that, people want us to actually look at their plant, their facility, look at their, as we get these models coming in, we got a better understanding of the risks from various threats, such as even tsunami, for example. We talk to the companies about, identifying their critical functions, what different things do they do, what do they have to do. They might have a legal responsibility with pensions and various things. You've got to minimize the downtime for some of these areas. So as Danny said, looking at who your core staff are going to be in a kind of critical situation. A lot of us learned to work remotely in many cases in the COVID-19 situation. So, we used to push for people to have even thinking about a sort of an alternate location for their operation. But we do know that the people that have a good plan in place typically get back much quicker. They often outcompete their rivals in the market.
Two questions, Simon.
And some
before I
forget
forget
if they don't have one. Go for it.
So, because you had mentioned, like in cases of a tsunami, what could happen? So, is it expected, or should these business continuity plans speak to different, natural disasters?
Yeah, you definitely have to. That's one of the elements that you do right at the very beginning of your plan. You look at what you're vulnerable to, the risks that you face. Obviously, hurricane being the foremost threat for us here in the Cayman Islands. But, things like power outages, loss of water, loss of telecommunications, all these things.
Fire, earthquake.
Right.
There's quite a long list.
Now, what about COVID hitting? Was there any sort of in case a crazy virus hits the world?
Very early on even in February, we were, as we saw the pandemic coming in 2020, we were working with the schools, looking at how they could put out a plan for dealing with it. Before we even opened the National Emergency Operations Center on March 3rd, it's not business, but if you're going to continue functioning, what do you need to have in place to make sure that you can continue to operate? And Danny mentioned reaching out to your suppliers and things like that. You might just have a handful of very important customers. Keeping in communication with these vital customers is also, important for people in crisis situations. So there's ways to go through. You've got to look at succession planning. What if you lost your key person in your business that knows a lot of things, that has authorization to do certain tasks? So these sorts of things, if you can think through them in advance, just as you do for your own personal preparation or for your family, you really need to do it if you've got a business, because there were a number of businesses that went under.
I think, going on from that,
Ivan.
it's even just last week or the week before, we had one of the airlines from Canada. I can't remember what it was. My daughter was on it.
JetBlue or no,
WestJet.
WestJet.
And the experience as a customer in the aftermath of that was a nightmare. Trying to get phone to, get tickets changed, trying to figure out where she was and whatever else. That customer service experience will leave a bad taste or a great taste in your mouth. And I think this is a great example of, if by chance you haven't got that plan in place, and how do you deal with your customers in the aftermath when you haven't got electricity, when you haven't got water? How do you make sure that they feel confident that you know what you're doing as a business is so critical to understand whether you will be able to continue or not. If you have that one experience, I know I will never use that airline again because of that one experience. And it was just like, you've got to be available. You've got to make sure that you are being proactive with your planning and especially recovery planning. But of course, that's all part of the preparedness, mitigation, and recovery planning.
All right, we gotta go to the 8 a.m. news, but when we come back, we're gonna hear a whole lot more about business continuity planning. I want to hear about those stats. How many businesses did close down when Ivan did hit? So when we come back from our 8 a.m. news break, we're gonna hear some more info and stats coming from Simon. All right.
Radio Cayman time check now, 8:01. This time check brought to you by our friends at Foster's.
Storm smart with Foster's this hurricane season. Water is essential for hurricane prep. Ensure you have at least 1 gallon of water per person per day for at least 3 days. Dehydration is a serious risk during emergencies. Stock up at Foster's and ensure you have enough to keep you and your loved ones hydrated throughout a storm. Go to fosters.ky/emergency-checklist for more information. Be safe and get hurricane ready with Foster's to stay ahead of the storm.
The voice of the Cayman Islands.
89.9 FM in Grand Cayman and 93.9 FM in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
Silver wings shining in the sunlight.
Radio Cayman.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
For today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
With your latest news, I'm Karsley Fuller. 2 people are rescued at sea. Sunday night, the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service's Air Ops Unit responded to a report of a capsized vessel in the Sound. The crew was able to locate it and the 2 people floating in the water by using night vision goggles. Through the NVGs, the crew could see the flashing of the face recognition on a phone that was being held by one of the people in the water, which is not visible to the naked eye. From this, the crew were able to guide the Coast Guard to the vessel. The pair were both safely rescued from the water. House Speaker the Honourable Alden McLaughlin has notified members that the next meeting of Parliament has been rescheduled for June 22nd. The meeting was due to start on July 5th, but Hurricane Beryl had other plans. The new date is now July 22nd at 10 a.m. A statement from Parliament says the new date allows members additional time for parliamentary questions, government motions, and private members' motions. House documents will be made available on the Parliament's website, parliament.ky, once the Business Committee meets. The bills under consideration for the upcoming 4th meeting are the Supplemental Appropriation 2023 Bill, Summary Jurisdiction Amendment Bill, Perpetuities Amendment Bill, the Pharmacy Bill, and the Firearms Amendment Bill. You can hear the proceedings live on our sister station, Breeze 105.3 FM, as well as watch them on the Cayman Islands Government YouTube and cable channels. Radio Cayman also replays Parliament in sequential order in the evenings after the news and local programming. The public are also welcome to view proceedings live from the public gallery in the House of Parliament after signing in with security. School inspectors give St. George's Preschool a satisfactory rating. St. George's Preschool is a private early childhood care center, which is an extension of the ministry of the St. George's Anglican Church. The preschool is located on the 1st floor of the Church Hall building. The report says the preschool has a strong Christian ethos, which, quote, cultivates a caring and nurturing environment. Consequently, almost all the children were happy and well-adjusted in the setting during the inspection. Almost all children made good progress in aspects of their physical development, communication, and language. The setting had established, quote, beneficial partnerships with community groups and agencies and these serve to broaden and enhance the children's learning and development. Going forward, the Office of Education Standards is recommending that St. George's ensure compliance with all regulatory requirements, including maintaining required adult-to-child ratios consistently, improving the consistency of good or better teaching by ensuring all early childhood educators plan effectively to meet the needs of all learners, review the curriculum to ensure a well-balanced emphasis on all domains, and to protect continuity and progression in child's learning and development, and enhance the system for tracking, monitoring, and reporting the progress of all children, particularly those with special educational and additional learning support needs. You can find the full report online at oes.gov.ky. Now with a check of international news, here's the BBC, which takes us out of the newscast. I'm Karsley Fuller.
Hello, I'm Emily Thomas with the BBC News. The United Nations has said it's highly likely the main children's hospital in Kiev suffered a direct hit from a Russian missile when it was struck on Monday. UN monitors say more people would have been killed if they hadn't been sheltering in a bunker. French prosecutors are investigating the finances of the far-right leader Marine Le Pen during her failed presidential campaign in 2022. There's been no comment from Ms. Le Pen or her party. The UN Human Rights Office is looking into reports of a mass grave in the desert along the Libya-Tunisia border. The High Commissioner, Volker Turk, said he'd been informed of disturbing developments and urged both countries to investigate swiftly. The authorities in South Korea say all public school students must attend classes on suicide prevention. Suicide is the leading cause of death for Koreans between the ages of 9 and 24. Residents of Gaza City say there's been another day of intense Israeli military activity. On Tuesday, tanks advanced further into the districts of Ashajaya, Sabra and Tel al-Hawa. Indirect talks on a ceasefire are reported to be taking place in Cairo and Qatar. Rwanda has accused the Congolese government of backing militia groups in the east of the DRC and of threatening regional security. A UN report on Monday said Rwandan forces were supporting rebel M23 fighters against the Congolese military. Police in Argentina have arrested 2 French rugby internationals on charges of sexual assault. The French sports minister said if the allegations were substantiated, they constituted an unspeakable atrocity. In India, 6 police and government officials have been suspended after a deadly crush at a religious gathering in Uttar Pradesh last week. BBC News.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
Now, more than ever, supporting your immune system is crucial to helping your body fight off illnesses like the common cold, the flu, and COVID-19. At ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road and in Buttontown, we carry all the essential vitamins and minerals to help support your immune system and improve your overall health. Some of our top immunity support picks are vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, elderberry, and quercetin are the popular 7-in-1 immunity support. Our pharmacists are always on hand to help guide you and answer any questions. Visit ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road or Buttontown. Live happy, live healthy with ValueMed Pharmacy.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman with the latest up-to-date, accurate news and information. For your convenience, the headline news will be repeated on our sister station, Breeze 105.3 FM, weekdays at 8:30 a.m. Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or download the Radio Cayman app in the App Store or log on to www.radiocayman.gov.ky and stay connected to what's happening in the community. Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
If you or your loved one is facing cancer, only Sylvester will stand firmly by your side at every step, from diagnosis through survivorship, providing you and your family peace of mind and assisting with everything you need before, during, and after your stay with us. Sylvester Comprehensive Cancer Center is South Florida's only NCI-designated cancer center and specializes in treating the most complex cancer cases. Your first-class cancer care is just a flight away. Learn more at sylvester.org.
Healthcare Pharmacy, caring about your health for the past 25 years. Radio Cayman's premier health show.
Alzheimer's and dementia, are they the same disorder?
Yeah, I think that's a very important question.
For the Health of It with Tara Bush.
For the Health of It with Tara Bush.
Is heard on Saturdays at 9:30 a.m. and on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Brought to you by Healthcare Pharmacy in Grand Harbor, where they care about your health. Transfer and refill your prescription online. Visit healthcarepharmacy.ky or call 947-8900. Healthcare Pharmacy, now with a second location in Governor's Square. Healthcare Pharmacy, where they care about your health.
The 8 a.m. weather update, brought to you by CG Britcay, where people come first.
Let's take a look at your 8 a.m. weather. Compliments of our friends at CG Britcay. It's partly cloudy on the outside. Sun trying to peek through. Present temperature 84 degrees Fahrenheit, but it feels like about 90 with the sun on you. Winds are out of the east at 14 miles per hour. Relative humidity 83%. Barometric pressure is at 29.94 inches. Last night's low temperature was at 82. Light to moderate southeasterly winds along with moderate seas are expected across the Cayman area for the next 24 hours in association with a ridge of high pressure over the northern Caribbean. Our forecast for today calls for partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of showers. Temperatures will rise to the upper 80s. Winds will be east-southeast at 10 to 15 knots. Seas will be moderate with wave heights of 3 to 5 feet. Looking at later tonight, partly cloudy skies with a 20% chance of showers. Temperatures will fall to the upper 70s. Winds will be east to southeast at 10 to 15 knots. Seas will be moderate with wave heights of 3 to 5 feet. We're in a low tide. High tide is coming up at 11:52 this morning. It's going to be low at 5:43 this evening. And the outlook is for similar weather conditions through Friday morning. That, my friends, is your latest weather. Compliments of our friends at CG Britcay.
We were on the edge of a breakthrough. I knew the substance was extraterrestrial, but I didn't realize.
Aunt Angie, what does this have to do with managing my insurance?
Well, long story long, the entire lab exploded. And the radioactive sludge went everywhere. I ended up in the hospital for a few weeks. But I was able to manage everything with the CG online portal.
The online portal. Safe, convenient, simple. CG Britcay. Good like that.
The 8 a.m. weather update, brought to you by CG Britcay, where people come first.
Getting good sleep helps boost your mind and mood and can help prevent health problems. Women are more likely than men to have insomnia. Changing hormones during the menstrual cycle, pregnancy, and menopause can affect how well a woman sleeps, along with many other factors such as a poor mattress, screen time before bed, eating too late, and sleeping disorders such as sleep apnea. Making sleep-responsible choices and speaking with a physician can greatly improve your sleep schedule.
Flow presents Flow Mania, the first ever all-in-one bundle for mobile and fixed internet.
Wow, finally!
With an absurd 1 gig broadband connection at home. For real, that fast? Insanely fast 5G for the first time ever. Are you serious? And an incredible service to keep you going. Wi-Fi backup included. What? Woohoo! Go all in. Go full mania with Flow Mania. Calculate your savings when you sign up at discoverflow.co or in store.
Did you know that there are over 300 public rights-of-ways to the shoreline across the 3 Cayman Islands? Now you can find them easily with the new Shoreline iMap at gov.ky/shoreline.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Enjoy a delicious start to your day with breakfast from Subway.
Morning, as movements of your traffic this morning. If you're coming out of the eastern districts, traffic's flowing smoothly until getting into the Georgetown area, of course. Looking at Bobby Thompson Way, traffic is building up into the roundabout and traffic coming off the Linford Pearson Highway. Some of the traffic coming through Agnes Way onto Crew Road. And of course, getting into Georgetown, Shannon Road, taking in the influx of the traffic. Streaming up through Eastern Avenue, as well as traffic on Godfrey Nixon Way as well, getting the camera to focus on the Butterfield roundabout. And of course, if you're heading through South Sound, Walkers Road, Southchurch Street into Seafarers Way, Northchurch Street, you'll experience the usual buildup of traffic this time of the morning. Looking at the Butterfield roundabout, North Sound Road, seeing some traffic coming out to the Butterfield roundabout, light traffic coming off the SLE Tibbets, and of course the northward bound traffic heading towards the Butterfield roundabout as you continue on to the SLE Tibbets or through North Sound Road or through Godfrey Nixon Way. Eastern Avenue seeing its light share of traffic heading towards the airport. Light traffic along Roberts Drive, West Bay Road. Traffic's flowing smoothly into Georgetown as well as into the West Bay area as well. Cayman Brack and Little Cayman seeing some light traffic this time of the morning. Not too bad today. Of course, during the lunch hour, things will get busy. We'll have another traffic report for you then. The traffic report brought to you by our good friends at Subway.
Summer's heating up, and so are the good times. Whether you are out on the water, enjoying the beach, or gathering with colleagues for an office bash, make it a feast to remember with Subway. From assorted sandwich platters to mouth-watering cookies, our catering menu has something for everyone. Perfect for groups of 5 or more. For food that's fresh, fast, and perfect for any occasion, choose Subway Catering. Visit subway.ky for catering options. Subway. Eat fresh.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Enjoy a delicious start to your day with breakfast from Subway.
The Business Buzz with your host, Kathy Miller.
Business Buzz.
Woo, we're back. Welcome back to the Business Buzz. I'm your host, Kathy Miller. And we have in studio with me this morning, I have Danny Coleman, Director for Hazard Management, and I have Simon Boxall, Communications, Public Awareness, and Training Officer with Hazard Management. So good morning again to our listeners. Right before the 8 a.m. news, we were just talking about, I mentioned that we're going to hear about some stats about businesses that did close down during Ivan, but we were talking about business continuity plans and just really getting into the introduction of what business continuity plans are.
Right. Yes. So thank you, Kathy, again, and thanks for having us on Radio Cayman. It was such a good support for us and helping us getting the word out. So yes, business continuity planning, critical. A number of businesses did, as you mentioned, indeed fail. I don't want to go into too many, but I'm just off the top of my head, I can think of 5 hotels. And obviously, they have a huge impact on the economy. They employ a lot of people and they bring a lot of revenue when the tourists visit. But we had the Hyatt Sleep Inn, Indy Suites, East End Dive Lodge, and Tiara Beach Hotel. And so there were a lot of businesses. I mean, back then there was a lot more paper records. People are able to back things up now on the cloud, and I hope people are doing that, obviously. But losing your data, was a terrible loss for so many people in Ivan. And vehicles, we lost.
What about smaller businesses? Because, those are, hotels are quite large, large business. A lot of them are chains. So I feel like they have a lot more protection and insurance coverage, right? But when it comes to your smaller shops here that, a lot of people in Cayman rely on, you want to call them the mom and pop shops, but basically the smaller shops. What about those? Was there a lot of...
Well, certainly there was it was a slow return in the tourism sector. Even though we had the cruise ships coming in, the stayover visitors, it took a while to clean the place up. So some of the people in the tourism sector really struggled, as it did actually in COVID-19. Other smaller companies, right, they didn't have, some people were relocating their operations to Toronto or whatever, temporarily. So they, often were in a position to really weather it. It's so important for the financial services to be up and running immediately. So some of the smaller companies did struggle.
I think, personal experience, my parents-in-law lost their business, and again, I never really recovered back from that, losing the business, and had to go into different things post that. And that's, a number of different personal experiences like that, very close to home, that being one of them, but several others of very good friends who've lost their businesses during Ivan. And I think it is so critical because, it's fine looking back now and saying, well, I would have so got the insurance, I would have so got the backup plan or had the, this and that, whatever else. back then, I don't think we really realised what the consequences were of a storm. We never really experienced it to that level. So I think nowadays, now that we do know, we really need to know these kind of things, how you can protect your business, how you can make sure you've got the right insurance. Even insurance from a couple of years ago, are you constantly updating it with the value of your property or your business? Because if by chance it is dated on something about 10 years ago, chances are your business has changed quite dramatically in that time. So making sure that all those things in place, you really have done a sort of assessment of the business impact, anything from, and of course the critical business functions. What is the most critical and time-sensitive business functions around your business? How much time can you tolerate downtime? Is it a week? Is it a month? What happens when your building is destroyed? Can you function elsewhere? And I think COVID was a good lesson for this. A lot of people learned how to do that very quickly. But again, if it's a printing business, for example, chances are it's not going to be quite so easy as a online business. Also, again, how do you fulfill your legal and your financial obligations? And maintain your cash flow, and also your market share and your reputation. There's so many things that go into this, and again, that we can help with, but we really do strongly recommend everyone prepares themselves, but of course their businesses as well.
From the businesses that that did close after Hurricane Ivan hit, do you think, because Simon, you did mention I think 5 hotels, right? So if I'm to guess, I would think it's probably because of a lot more structural damage more than anything. So the businesses that did close, do you think it's more from structural damage, which they couldn't really help, at that time, and I'm sure it took a long time to repair, or was it like more of a loss of data or a lack of structure?
And insurance.
Yeah, I think it was a combination. Obviously, Cayman is quite low-lying, so it was a significant storm surge event. So many people had all their records covered up, their computers with water, and they didn't. Many people didn't have generators at that particular time. It was very stressful. Maybe they hadn't done enough cross-training of their staff, so some people just couldn't cope with the environment without electric and without running water, and they were leaving. So, making sure that you have plans in place to just have your critical records and things like that secure when a hurricane hits, that you have a place where you can set up shop and start doing business quickly, that you've identified those employees that are going to show up. And because what we saw in Hurricane Ivan is a lot of people didn't have support to get food to keep going really and function properly. And what we're seeing now is some businesses even have a group of people who are assisting some of their staff putting up shutters, getting their vehicle to higher ground. They're making sure that there's food coming in regularly so people can continue to kind of get everything back in order. People are a lot more robust and resilient. We didn't really anticipate it back then. Hazard management didn't exist.
Right.
There's been a lot of advances, and obviously the ability to back up data is critical, but I still think if you can put support mechanisms in place for your staff, because quite often it's the vulnerability of the individuals themselves that is the weakest link. They're not able to show up to work because they're just not prepared. Right. So if you can sit with them, some of them, what is your plan? Where are you going to go? How are you going to get your vehicle somewhere safe? Because it took months for vehicles to come on island with ships only bringing in 5 or 6 at a time. So people were walking to work. They had no air conditioning. It was a challenging environment. Again, I think we're a lot stronger now.
I think Simon brought up a really good point there. Again, how well your staff prepared, because, you might have, if you rely solely on a specific individual, for example, or a specific building, that single point of failure, if by chance that person or that building or whatever that might be gets, is no longer able to assist, does your business crumble because you haven't got that person? So that cross-training of staff is so incredibly critical. And training itself, there's one thing to have a plan in place, but unless you exercise and you do sort of drills with your plan, and one of the things we've been trying to organise for our staff, we did it last year actually, was, so we have this drill, and all of a sudden it's making sure that no one can get back into the government administration building. So what do you have at home? Go home and carry on with your work. And if you haven't got your laptop and you haven't got your radio and you haven't got these assets that we carry around for hazard management, well, then you're not going to be able to do half the stuff we had a tasks of like 10 different things. So it's a really good way to sort of test the system. If by chance as a hypothetical, the building that you work in is no longer available because it's burnt down or something, how do you function without that? And again, we can help with that because it's quite a good exercise to test the staff, but also to test the infrastructure itself and make sure that you do have your contingencies in place for backup facilities and infrastructure. And we talk about infrastructure, we're not just talking about the physical building, we're talking about the assets, the computer, the communication channels, the access to pretty much any of that technological side of things as well.
Okay. I want to ask, when we're talking about protecting your business continuity plans, and we mostly focused on the hurricanes, right? We did mention that there's a couple of other disasters that could hit. It could be an earthquake, it could be a fire. But is there, I guess, any other hazards we face that we should consider when we are making these business continuity plans?
Cyber. I think cyber right now, cyber breaches. Sorry, that's my exercise reminder to drink water and do some exercise.
Drink water, everyone.
Everyone drink water. So yes, cyber crimes. I mean, again, I think we're seeing much more of that these days, and I don't think it's all a bit new to a lot of us, but the older generation, the idea of a cyber breach, we've seen it across the world in different big suppliers. And again, how much that impacts your business. What happens if you have a cyber attack and you can't have access to anything? Another thing we
had a couple of threats with that.
We
this
did.
Year in
we did.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the team were on it, so quickly. But I think our capabilities here in Cayman Islands government are very, very strong, and I think the team were really, really very good to respond very quickly on that. But other overseas territories, for example, haven't been quite so fortunate last year, and also the Maiwan cables and so forth. There's a lot of the infrastructure itself that if something does happen, then we need to be thinking about how do we communicate with the outside world. And given that we are a financial and tourist institution, we rely so heavily on that as the Cayman Islands for our income. We need to make sure that our communication with the outside world is very robust.
Okay, so when go ahead.
Just to add to that, I think, prior to the approach of Beryl, proactively, there was some added capacity put on the submarine, one of the submarine cables. So government is thinking about these things as well. We do it in the National Emergency Operations Center. We look at, how do we continue to operate without communications? We have fairly robust systems in place. Obviously, there's the ultra-high frequency communications network. So no matter what happens, the first response agencies are going to be talking to each other. And I do feel that Cayman is so far ahead in so many areas in terms of building the resilience, building the capacity. But we also need the businesses, the individuals, the families to take responsibility. And we're happy to come in. Like I said, it's free. We'll come in. We're not going to write your plan for you, but we'll definitely look through it and support you and give you some ideas and some tips on what you should be thinking about. And as, again, Danny mentioned earlier, she's been a very strong proponent of cross-training in our department to make sure that if one of us goes AWOL,
you're the training officer, Simon, so I'm guessing that you are in charge of
succession planning because we can't be in this line of work for the rest of our lives.
Right. And, we're driving around with like a little emergency kit in the back. I was able to assist somebody who cut their toe down at Smith's Cove because I had that little first aid kit Danny had in the backpack and the flashlight and the helmet and everything else. But I think it takes a lot of stress off if you plan and prepare ahead. And people saw that probably in Beryl when they're sort of scrambling. Yeah. And we had a lot of time this with Beryl. So think ahead, reach out to Hazard Management, give us a call. We're happy to come along anytime.
Well, let's get into what those components of an effective business continuity plan are.
Okay.
Because I'm sure, you have your house plan, but that's going to be different from what your business plan is, right?
Well, the plan, the procedures, the process is a key element of this. And so initially you're going to want to just scan the horizon. What are your vulnerabilities? What are your threats? What are you... is your business right on the coast in a low-lying area? Is it waves you're concerned about? Is it storm surge? Is it strong winds. Is it power failures? Danny mentioned cyber, loss of internet, loss of your supplier, loss of your, what happens without power? Are you able to operate? Who are the key staff members? What are your critical functions? First off, you really need to kind of assess what is it that you need to deliver, that you have to legally deliver on. What are your critical records that you just cannot lose? One hopes that the pension providers are keeping an eye on and have got our pension records in place, right? So, who are the key employees? Who is going to be your critical team that you're really going to need around you when you're facing a threat, that you're responding to it or you're recovering from it?
So this is the succession planning part, your key employees?
Yeah, and that training. But I'm thinking too of your team. You might identify team members who've got different special functions, who's going to do what in the office, who's going to make sure the building's shutter, where the vehicle's going to go, who's going to back up the data, who's, all these different...
so having like kind of breakout teams in a sense.
But I think also in addition to that, one of the things we saw in BVI post-Irma was that, yes, you've got obviously all these people trained to go, for example, the police over there, but actually their houses were completely destroyed and their family were completely everywhere. So it's like, what happens when you don't have all the resources you thought you were going to have? I know for us in government, we're always talking about contingencies, like what happens? We can assume that, X amount of people probably won't turn up to the National Emergency Operations Centre or won't turn up to do, street patrolling and so forth. So we have to build that into our planning. It's also talking about sort of delegations of authority, who is delegated authority? If by chance someone doesn't show up, how does that look for, the second in command? Can that person take over? Do they have the legal responsibility to do so? I think so much of it, again, comes down to communication and, succession planning for the response. But also,
talking to your staff, Danny mentioned communication there. Sorry to interrupt, Danny. Making sure that you keep your staff fully aware of what's going on, making sure, checking in on their welfare.
And if they have families at home, a lot of people have, you might have a staff member who's a brilliant staff member but who's also a single mum or a single dad. And so how do they respond if they don't have any family support or pets? Yeah.
Are you going to bring them in? Are you going to let them stay in the office?
Do you have family support? Again, that's another thing from BVI. One of the biggest key lessons was lack of support for the parents who had to go back and do the critical functions.
Right.
Who looks after their children when school's not out? School's not in, rather. So I know over there we set up some daycare centres. But again, what does that look like? Because, of course, there's child protection issues. So making sure that is all in place. And again, that your family, you have enough support, be it family or friends, if you do have to go back and try and build your business back very quickly.
I think that's a great point, especially when it does come to children or pets. Because, the infrastructure might break down in the home itself that you're relying on the employee to work from. So all those different aspects that you have to look at, the risk factor in a sense of what's happening. Yeah, kind of add it to your project plan and figure out what to do from there. Yeah. We got to go to a commercial break right now, but when we come back, we're going to go through the remaining, components that are part of the business continuity plan. All right. Thanks, I'm going to get some coffee for Simon and Danny wants to remind you all again to drink your water. All right.
I'm Michael Webster.
And I'm Denise Brown of Cayman Insurance Center.
Family is not the most important thing, it's everything.
We have worked with the community and their families on protecting themselves for the future.
Whether it's providing top-rated life insurance
or protecting your family's household investment.
From our family to yours, we understand and we care.
I'm Denise Brown. Call me at 814-7229.
And I'm Michael Webster at 925-5433.
We are Cayman Insurance Center.
Specializing in property, life, and other lines of insurance products and services at an affordable rate. We are Michael and
Denise at Cayman Insurance Center.
Call today.
When it comes to weekly meal prep, I trust Kirk Market to provide the best value for quality proteins. The butchers at Kirk Market are super helpful. They always slice my steaks perfectly. Kirk Market has everything I need for healthy and flavorful protein-packed meals. From lean cuts of CAB choice beef, tender CAB prime beef, the juiciest pork, and all-natural hormone-free poultry, to their seafood section with everything from fresh local snapper to omega-3 rich salmon. I choose Kirk Market for the highest quality proteins to support my healthy lifestyle. Kirk Market. Eat well, live well, and discover a world of choice.
Tired of feeling exhausted, no matter how much sleep you get? It could be sleep apnea, a condition affecting millions of people that often goes undiagnosed. At Total Health, we believe in the power of preventative care. That's why we're offering at-home Level 2 sleep studies, convenient, comfortable, and conducted in the privacy of your own home. Untreated, sleep apnea can lead to serious health issues like high blood pressure, heart disease, and stroke. Our comprehensive approach means you get personalized care from start to finish. Wake up to a healthier tomorrow with Total Health. Contact us today at 333-2222 or visit totalhealth.ky to schedule your at-home Level 2 sleep study. Because a good night's sleep is just the beginning. Total Health, your partner in preventative care.
Sports. Stay up to date on your sports news with Radio K-Man Monday through Friday at 7 a.m., 6 p.m., and 10 p.m. It's all about sports.
Your sports news is brought to you by Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Village. What's up your prescription refills at 929-5045.
Remember to discard all fresh fruits and vegetables, meats, all foods in canisters, dented, leaking, or rusting cans after they have come in contact with floodwater. Also, discard foods that are stored in cardboard boxes, paper foil, cellophane, and cloth, as well as those in open containers and packages.
For more post-hurricane food safety tips, visit DAH website at www.gov.ky/DAH.
The Business Buzz with your host, Kathy Miller. Business Buzz.
Good morning and welcome back to the Business Buzz. I'm your host, Kathy Miller. And all morning I've been forgetting to give the numbers to call in. If anybody wants to call in or leave a comment, you can WhatsApp, call, or text us at 925-3261. For WhatsApp, again, it's 925-3261. You can call us at 949-6990 or 949-8037. And 1-800-534-8255. Those are the numbers to call us on the Business Buzz. We are in studio with Danny Coleman, Director of Hazard Management, and Simon Boxall, Communications, Public Awareness, and Training Officer. And we are discussing business continuity management. So we're always talking about hurricane preparedness when it comes to your home, but now this is about your business. Is your business prepared? Can it continue? Are your operations intact? What are your procedures? What are all the things that you're thinking about? So right before the break, we started discussing what an effective business continuity plan includes, and we're going to continue with that because we just got about halfway through what you should be thinking about including in your plan. So I think we might have left off at around communications or so.
Yes, thanks, Kathy. I just want to back up very quickly and just say I remember after Ivan, the customs people, trying to get people off island, over 10,000 people, I think, left in 3 weeks. And we saw an amazing job this time. I just want to shout out Cayman Airways, who got over 5,500 people out on evacuation flights. Worked very hard. But the customs, when I do the presentations there, they're still recalling how hard they worked without food, without water, and those sorts of things. So whatever you can do as a business leader, a manager, giving your staff a little bit of time before a storm hits to get themselves ready is vital, at least 6 hours, and then hopefully more. But also trying to support them so they can perform the functions that you need them to do to keep your business going. But definitely thank you, as always, for having us on Radio Command. You're a really big supporter of us. So we talked about communications, and I think that's so vital to make sure that you're always keeping your staff up to date. If you don't have communication, where are you going to meet after the all clear is issued, if it's a hurricane we're talking about, obviously. And just making sure that you have the call tree updated. Where are your staff? What are their contact numbers? Hopefully you know where they're going to be sheltering even. So if you need to go and reach out and do a welfare check on them, that you do that. Because human capital, people are critical to this, and if they're not ready, they're not going to be able to perform their job. Danny, you probably wanted to get into testing and training and things like that.
I guess talking about just before we do, conducting a vulnerability assessment of your business. This is the pre-work you can do. So listing the potential hazards, and again, we can help with this. Potential hazards, as you mentioned, we talked about fire, earthquake, cyber attack, hurricane, whatever, in estimating the probability, assessing the potential human impact, the property impact, and the business impact. And of course, your capacity is really, really important when you're doing these plans.
When you say capacity,
your capacity staff, so your contingency. If you have 10 staff members, and they all have other things going on, as in big families, they have to do it. What does that look like for you? You need to build that into your planning, because you may need surge capacity from outside. I know, us in the National Emergency Operations Centre, we always talk about having a rotation. Now, obviously, we're dealing with sort of the national response, but at the same time, you can't function 24/7. There comes a time when your ability to make sound decisions, really is impacted. So having a critical friend and having someone that work with you and know that you can sort of pass over the reins when you need a few hours sleep, and the business, it'll still be progressing. The recovery of your business will still be progressing is really, really important. I think I mentioned earlier on about the single point of failure. If you're at the top and have, you're not delegating any authority or any decision making to anyone else, it's going to be a very lonely place in the aftermath of any emergency. So really thinking about what that looks like, your contingency, who's your fallback plan, how can you work with other people to make sure they can take over some of the slack. We talked about test training and exercising. Your plan, no matter what plan it is, it's only as good as if you exercise it. So great having a piece of paper, ideally, obviously, electronic and hard copy, given that we're talking about potentially hurricanes here. But making sure that you test these plans, because there's so many, and modular, don't do the whole thing at once. Just do the communication call-out tree, for example. Or next time, what happens again if you can't access your building? How does the staff operate elsewhere? What do they do to make sure that they can still operate from home with a laptop or whatever that looks like? So making sure you're constantly testing those, and I say constantly, not constantly, but once in a while you do a test and an exercise. And again, we can assist with a module, not do it for you, but giving you ideas about what those modules might look like. Be it, again, I've just mentioned the communications call-out tree. And then you see the gaps, and as soon as you can identify the gaps, you can work on those. You're much better off finding those gaps now as opposed to mid-emergency.
Yeah, and obviously there are things you can do. Maintenance is very important of your building. If you can keep it, in good shape, you're less likely to lose it or have damage to your roof. And then there are things you can obviously do to prevent big issues, making sure your fire alarms are functioning, that you have fire extinguishers in place, that you have shutters for the windows and things like that. And I'm sure everybody tested their shutters in the last couple of weeks.
I still, on the way in today, I saw so many shutters still up. I'm like, yay, it's an at least if something happens in the next couple of days or weeks, at least we're ready.
Sandbags became a big thing.
Sandbags are really big.
Actually,
really big.
Yeah, so a lot of people are sandbagging it now. Many people probably tested generators to make sure that they were functional.
And again, cleaning those out now. If you're not using them until the next storm, make sure you are, purging them and doing your thing to maintain them. I also think there's so much that goes into making sure that your business can remain open. One of the questions I'd ask any business owner is, can your business remain open if you have no electricity, water, telephone, or supplies and materials? And all of a sudden your supply chain to the island, for example, of stationery, if you're a stationery shop or whatever that looks like, what kind of supplies do you have? I mean, I guess stationery might not be your biggest priority in the aftermath of a big storm, but as a business, you need to make sure you can recover quickly. So if your supply chain to the outside world is cut off, how long can you survive as a business?
Right.
If you don't have electricity or water or any facilities in your building, are you dependent on that, or can you function without? And do you have a backup in place for those batteries or extra batteries for your computer, for example, or your generator, as Simon mentioned?
I think what you mentioned is so critical when it comes to the capacity of your business, what you can actually offer in terms of services. Will you be able to do anything if you have no electricity at all? Will you have enough of supply for a few months? If you're selling goods to customers. But I think it reminds me of, if somebody goes through the awful experience in life where they lose a job, for example, or something happens and then they're out of work for months. And I think there's a general rule of thumb that says, as an individual person, you should have, I believe it's 6 months of savings set aside in your bank account that you don't ever touch, you don't look at, in case you ever get to that point in your life where you need to just survive for 6 months without any income.
And that's being quite frugal, because I know, everyone has a different spending capacity. 6 months to me might look very different from 6 months. For example, for my sister, we have very different spending capacities and abilities to spend. So again, making sure you are being frugal in the aftermath when money is not quite so, the income is not as regular as it might be.
Are you scolding her right there?
No, I adore her. But she does spend more than I do.
But then you look at the average person, usually goes paycheck by paycheck as well.
Right now, in particular, with the cost of living, we go on in May and June talking about trying to get people ready for the season and buying one can at a time, because I think people really struggle trying to, asking someone to buy a full hurricane supply box right now. It's not in a lot of people's budgets, and I think finding ways of making that work. For everyone's specific budget is so important, because people, as you say, people are living, a lot of the time, but paycheck to paycheck, and it's just not easy to be able to have something like this and have your potentially issues with your employment or issues with your business, and you're still just trying to stay afloat, just in normal blue skies, let alone in an emergency.
Right, and that's a lot of money for business to have aside if you cannot function for a couple months at all.
Insurance,
business interruption insurance. Yeah. I think we were heavily insured generally in the Cayman Islands in Ivan, and I know for many people that cost of insurance has gone up. We were talking about the cost of living. It's an issue for many, many people. Cayman is a successful country, and people look at Cayman and think people making a lot, but we have to ensure, even in our shelters, that we've got a little bit of food extra and water and so on and so forth, because there are people come up and they really just don't have anything, and we obviously encourage them to prepare and even get a little cash out before a hurricane approaches, but it's not easy for everybody. So if you can give yourself time, think about these things. There's a saying, Rome wasn't built in a day, so you can do little small steps, little bits, and just get there, and you will. And you'll protect your business if you just give it a bit of thought.
I agree. I mean, I think at the end of the day, it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. Obviously, supplies will cost a bit of money, but things like education is the key to life. And I think at the end of the day, as long as you know your risks and you understand what you're up against, that in itself is a very, very powerful tool for knowing what to do during and in the aftermath of any emergency. So making sure you are educated, making sure you're going on official channels. You can follow, again, caymanprepare.ky. We have so much information, be it on all hazards, but also on making sure businesses and so forth are ready to go. And again, we're very, very happy to come into any business and talk to you about your own planning and your own risk and so forth, to make sure you can continue in the aftermath.
We got to go to a commercial break right now, but when we come back, we're going to go into our final segment of Understanding Business Continuity Planning with Danny Coleman, Director of Hazard Management, and Simon Boxall, Communications, Public Awareness, and Training Officer.
When it comes to weekly meal prep, I trust Kirk Market to provide the best value for quality proteins. The butchers at Kirk Market are super helpful. They always slice my steaks perfectly. Kirk Market has everything I need for healthy and flavorful protein-packed meals. From lean cuts of CAB choice beef, tender CAB prime beef, the juiciest pork, and all-natural hormone-free poultry, to their seafood section with everything from fresh local snapper to omega-3 rich salmon. I choose Kirk Market for the highest quality proteins to support my healthy lifestyle. Kirk Market. Eat well, live well, and discover a world of choice.
Investing in our children's academic success and future career is a no-brainer. Isn't it time we stop with the excuses? With 100% Math, you can take charge now. There's no reason for your children to fall behind in math again. Since 2011, 100% Math has prepared students for exams in IB, HL, SL Math, and CSEC and enrichment programs for gifted students. Visit 100%math.com or call or WhatsApp 547-9817. That's 547-9817. No more excuses. Set your child up for success today with 100% Math.
Our rich and diverse natural environment is one of our most important assets. Strong coral reefs are our first line of defense against intense storm waves. Healthy seagrass beds and mangrove forests provide a nursery for the sea creatures we depend on, while our native forests stimulate our rain cycles and help to control inland flooding. Economic resilience requires environmental resilience.
The Business Buzz with your host, Kathy Miller.
All right, welcome back to the Business Buzz. I'm your host, Kathy Miller, and we only have maybe about 10, 11 minutes left. So if you want to get your questions in, you can do so before we end the show at 9 a.m. 925-3261, 949-6990, 949-8037, or 1-800-534-8255. We are talking about business continuity plans with Hazard Management, and we just talked about all the essential components that your business continuity plan should include, right? And if you're not sure, always talk to Hazard Management. They can come and speak with you, speak to an organization, and help you out with your business continuity plan. However, I want to know from any businesses that you have worked with in the past that you've helped them out with this plan, has there been any feedback from them in terms of this works, this doesn't really work for us at all? Anything that also kind of helps you with your process? I don't know how long these plans have been in place locally, but
yeah, I mean, again, we have been as proactive as possible, I think, with this. There was a fire last year, and we went straight down there just to see how we could help. Admittedly, the fire had happened, but working with the business, and they were very, very happy to see us and basically work with us as to what that recovery looked like. And I would say that was a little late, and we'd much rather get in there at the earlier stages and get that plan ready to go as opposed to when the fire has just happened. But the feedback we've had in the past, again, it's been very, very positive. But we have moved, as I say, as a government towards this new software that, again, interlinks. I think it's really important, when you're doing a plan, it's one thing, but of course, in private business, it's slightly different from the whole government in public sector. But when you're drafting a plan, obviously think about your own people and your own suppliers and your own staff and your own liabilities and insurance and assets and so forth. But how does your business impact other businesses? Can you function if, for example, you're reliant on a different business and they for some reason don't manage to get up and running quickly in the aftermath? So don't just think about your own specific business in silo. Think a bit more about the comprehensive picture about how everything sort of interlinks. If you're relying, for example, on food sales, and you have a restaurant, for example, and you have a fish restaurant, you're relying on fish sales, or you're relying on food security, is that going to be impacted if, for example, your fish supplier can't provide fish to you? So think about those kind of contingencies. If the supermarket don't get stock coming into the island because the ports are broken down and we're struggling with the airport, for example, how does that impact your business? So don't think inside, I think a bit more comprehensively.
Yeah, thank you again, Kathy, for having us on Radio Cayman. I just want to remind people, if they want to get in touch with us, if they want us to do presentations on business continuity or help them review their plans, we do a lot of plan reviews. We don't write your plan, but we do believe that those that are prepared tend to make it through okay, bounce back quicker, outcompete their competitors sometimes. We will, you can reach us on 945-4624 is our phone number, 945-4624, or through HMCI at gov.ky. We will respond to you on Facebook and things like that, and Twitter. If you reach out to us in comments, we try to be very kind of proactive in terms of responses to people. And or just email us and we'll set up a time. We're doing, as Danny said, I think we did about 30 presentations in May. So we are banging them out as quick as we can to help support people. They're free.
And we tailor them to your specific needs. So, for example, if you want a hurricane planning workshop, or you want a earthquake drill, or a specific assessment of something, we can tailor it towards what you need yourself as a business.
Okay.
And I think it's very proactive for the businesses, because quite often it is about the actual well-being of your individual staff, making sure their plans in place as well. So I think it shows that you're looking out for your staff when you actually bring us in to do the presentations. And
so I just want to make a real quick comment about that. We saw last week about people sort of saying, okay, staff, you have to come back to work now, as in we're really, really encouraging owners of businesses especially those who aren't critical owners, to be as sensitive as possible to the scenario. Yes, of course, we want the businesses to get up and running as quickly as possible, but you really need to bear in mind your staff needs and the mental health of your staff. And, we're talking about retention of staff. I don't think many of us will stay in a business if we feel that we've been, seriously, mistreated afterwards. And I'm talking about dragging people back in way before the time's right. So really encourage business owners to be sensitive to the needs of your staff, and find contingencies if by chance specific people in your business are suffering more than others.
I don't know if it's a particular trait some business owners have, but I can remember last week after Barrel, after I was done here on Thursday at work, and because it was work for us right here, continuous coverage that the OC and Sterling provided at night, which means there's somebody continuously in the studio. I don't think Norma slept for days, just like you, Danny. The newsroom was all over it, and some of us were just rotating in different shifts, right? And so we worked, okay, no problem. I'd rather be doing that really than be terrified at a window trying to peer out and see what's going on. But then I also spoke about the anxiety and the mental game that went on in my head, and just basically the trauma from that. So imagine, we got the all clear, I think around 1 p.m. And imagine, for Grand Cayman. Yeah, for Grand Cayman. So just imagine a couple hours later after that, I'd seen from the comments on social media and some of the pictures being shared, people in fast food lines.
And what was worse, even last year was worse, because we had people getting pulled into restaurants before the all clear was given. So this is it's a real serious issue. You really, really have to be. No one needs fast food enough in the aftermath of a storm.
No.
To put people's lives at risk, to get them in there, to be starting cooking for people, for the all clear to happen. It really is a serious issue. And again, whilst it's an advisory right now, if we do see misuse of the system, of course we will have to look into curfews, legal curfews, and whilst we don't want to go down that road, because we really hope people can all understand that the risk at hand here, we strongly encourage all those persons involved in opening a business directly after the all clear not to be pulling staff in before the all clear is given, and again bearing in mind that people have different issues they might have to contend with, so being sensitive to your staff's needs.
I completely agree with that, because it was a mind game very much for all of us. And I think pulling in the staff at the very last minute on the day that a hurricane was supposed to hit and saying, okay, well, it didn't hit, it's passed, we got the all clear, come to work within the next 2 hours.
Yeah, it's just not.
That's a little crazy to me. On the other hand, I'm not a business owner.
Yeah.
So I'm not, when it comes to the bottom line and revenues and realizing how much a day or two can put you back so far in business, that part I don't understand. So I understand, in a sense, a business owner operating from that viewpoint as well. Well, we're losing so much money, we're losing so much. I mean, you could have lost your whole entire business.
It's definitely a balance. Yeah, it's definitely a balance. And I think business owners have to be responsible and look at the weighing up of the consequences and the pros and cons. But again, just be sensitive to the staff needs, because, a lot of people were very traumatized last week, because again, it's bringing back sort of Ivan PTSD or Paloma PTSD. Just making sure you're thinking about all those things. And again, we're happy to have that conversation with you about what that balance looks like if needs be.
I think it's something to very much keep in mind. Mm-hmm. If you thought you were going to be closed for the day, continue being closed for the day.
Absolutely. I walked past Camana Bay at the end of the day, and it was fantastic to see, because there's not a single restaurant open. And again, putting safety of staff first, and making sure that, yes, I appreciate the revenue was lost that day in Camana Bay restaurants and so forth. But again, it was a great show to staff that they can stay at home safely and then worry about it the next day, go back to work the next day when things had been, recovery had pretty much commenced and everything had been cleared up.
Unwind, because you're constantly at a super high operating level, and your anxiety is super through the roof, and just trying to go and do what you got to do and bear with the storm, right? Storm doesn't hit. And then the moment you think, okay, now I can relax a tiny bit, you got to go into work.
Yeah.
So it's that constant being on that really high functioning mode. It's a scary thing to do. Mm-hmm. So I'm totally with you. I agree with you on that point. Very much businesses think about it. I know you're losing a little bit of money, but there's also that mental peace with your own
and your staff retention levels. I can guarantee down the line will be much longer than they might be if you're misabusing the system.
Very much. Well, we got a couple minutes left, about 2 minutes left. So if there's anything when it comes to business continuity plans that you definitely want our listeners to know about, even if we've shared a lot of information, so it might seem really overwhelming and somebody doesn't even want to think about that. But now's the time to definitely be thinking about it if you haven't thought about it already. So if somebody is very overwhelmed, what would you say to them? How to get started?
Just give us, reach out, give us a call. Sort of, if you are stressed about it, probably a good place to start is just reach out to us, and we'll kind of help you and walk you through the process. And kmanprepared.ky is our website, and our phone number is 945-4624. Our email address is hmci@gov.ky. And I want to generally just thank the people of Cayman, the businesses of Cayman, generally how we all came together for Beryl. I think people took the threat seriously. We were fortunate to be missed by those Category 3 winds by about 10 miles or so. It was close.
Right.
It was close. But I think people took the threat seriously. The volunteers who showed up in the shelters to help people when they're obviously in it's a very challenging situation. People with young kids and families, they rolled up their sleeves. And we just asked the businesses too. And I think many people are pretty prepared. All our government agencies, is a legal requirement that they go through. They figure out what their risks and vulnerabilities are. And, we need to make sure that those critical functions can continue to be delivered, or at least get back up and running immediately in the aftermath as quickly as possible. And government's taking that responsibility very seriously. And we are at Hazard Management supporting that effort. And we just hope the businesses are too. And we believe they are. I think Cayman, in many respects, so much, more resilient, more ready. But if you take a little bit of time to plan and prepare now, it'll pay dividends. And yeah.
All right. Thank you. Danny, any closing words from you?
Again, I think Beryl was a great example last week about, well, one, it could have been a so much worse scenario, but I think it was a good, dare I say, a dry run compared to what we may face this year or years to come. And I appreciate, again, anxieties are still very high right now from Beryl. And like human nature, it should be, because, again, it was a very, very close call. Just really strongly encouraging the public and businesses in particular not to be complacent about this. You've seen the forecast. We know what that looks like. And again, it might be a hurricane or something else. This year is 20 years later from Hurricane Ivan. 20 years later, we do believe we're 20 years at least stronger and more resilient. And from the infrastructure to the transportation to communication to businesses to all of it, we are much stronger than we were 20 years ago. But we also have some other vulnerabilities, more development, more people on the island, more planes needed for evacuation, for example. So there's a lot of things to consider here. But again, just to say, we're here to help in any shape or form, be it personal preparedness, business preparedness, continuity of operations, making sure that your business can continue in the aftermath, because I think that is so critical. One thing, it'd be a real shame to work so hard on the preparedness actions, making sure you're ready, only to fall flat afterwards because your business can't continue. And there's so many things we can do now as a proactive measure to make sure your business does continue. So please, please, please give us a call. Very, very happy to help in any shape or form. And again, stay safe, Cayman. Really love seeing all the Cayman kindness last week of everyone helping each other out a bit, and we really hope it continues the rest of the season.
And I think it's a great service that you do offer in helping businesses do their business continuity plan, and the fact that it's a free service is insane to me. Amazing. So there's no reason businesses shouldn't reach out to you, as overwhelming as it may seem to some. You got to start somehow, and just by reaching out, that's the first step right there. Hazard Management, you also do a very excellent job in Cayman in keeping us aware of what's going on, keeping us on high alert, the constant communication to the public. I think it's such a strong asset for us to have, and I'm grateful that we do have you, because you are our leading light when it comes to things that we aren't sure about what's going on when it comes to natural disasters and whatnot. So thank you for joining us on the Business Buzz this morning.
Thank you, and thank you to you, because again, communication's absolutely key in any emergency. So thank you, Kathy, and thank you all the listeners for listening in.
All right.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Cayman. Thanks, Radio
Thanks,
Cayman.
everybody. We got to go to the 9 a.m. headline news, and have a great, it's Tuesday, right? Yes, have a great Tuesday. The Business Buzz is proudly sponsored by Cayman Insurance Center, specializing in property, life, and other lines of insurance products and services. And Kirk Market. Experience a world of choice.
And 100% Math. Invest in your child's academic success. Visit 100%math.com or call 547-98